Hello and welcome to It's Not So Lonely at the Top podcast. This is a podcast for business leaders and business owners just like you. We're going to be sharing top tips on how to develop yourself personally and professionally. I'm going to be sharing updated podcasts on a regular basis, so please do make sure you subscribe, and I really hope you enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome to It's Not So Lonely at the Top. My name is Ian Bridgestock and I'm a business owner and an active member of It's Not So Lonely at the Top Mastermind group. Fundamentally, the truth about leadership is success is never accidental. It requires a defined roadmap, and a roadmap that is often impossible to navigate alone. Pete Rushmer is an award-winning entrepreneur and an author of the Performance Trifecta. Today, we shift the dynamics. I'm putting Pete in the hot seat to examine the real purpose behind the Performance Trifecta, the Mastermind, and his coaching. It's not just about strategy, it's about clarity and courage. I'll be asking him, how does this community fundamentally transform performance, and what is the psychological strengths enables us to move forward from self-doubt to decisive action? Pete, welcome to my podcast today. I forgot to mention also as well that TEDx speaker as well. I don't think you mentioned that enough times in over the last 11 months now, isn't it? It was January last year.
I was going to say, it is nearly 12 months that I've been a TEDx speaker.
Yeah, I do remember that. There was a lot of work there for you, wasn't there, mate?
A lot of work, mate, yeah.
So, yeah, I've known Pete for a couple of years now. Well, I've known you for longer than a couple of years, but
5
really,
years.
really
we've worked together for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I've really known you for the last few years. You've become a right pain in the arse. But I thought it would be good to...
Number one customer.
Yeah, number one customer, 101. But I thought it would be good to sort of challenge Pete himself, because obviously we've read this book, The Performance Trifecta, available on peterushmer.com to purchase. It's a good read. I've read it 6 times now.
Nice.
Yeah.
You've enjoyed every single one of them.
I've got
and
notes.
Now you're using it as toilet paper by the looks of it.
Yeah, for those who are listening to this, I've actually got some notes in here that I want to challenge him on, really, just to see where his sort of his mindset is on this. So, your core philosophy is built around the Performance Trifecta: direction, skills, and energy, right?
Sure. Which
of these 3 pillars do you find most often breaks down first for a leader? Let's say who is approaching burnout or is feeling stuck.
Sure. Okay. So, in my experience, both feeling stuck and burnout are major challenges for people who own businesses, leaders, and I think fundamentally, really interestingly, I started the book at direction, so you would expect me to say direction.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing, if I was to pick of the 3 that people get most wrong, is they tend to think they know where they're heading from a direction perspective. I think they think that they've probably got the skills that they need to achieve what they need to do, because we tend to automatically pick businesses in the area that we've got a level of expertise or experience. It makes natural sense to do so. Yeah. The language that we've not got and the understanding we've not really got is how we're energized and motivated. So usually that is the starting point. When I coach somebody, when somebody engages me for coaching, I normally do an initial discovery session, and usually as part of that, I'll do a motivational map, because the starting point of that is to help me understand where the need is, what's going on. There is a level of intuition that we have around motivation, that we think we know what we want. But the challenge is whether we're business leaders, business owners, or just normal everyday human beings. Sometimes we allow ourselves to be influenced by social media, by the media and the world around us. And actually, we haven't really spent much time focusing and thinking about our values, what's important to us, what energizes us. And we just tend to allow ourselves to be guided by those influences, the most influential things that are around us. So a map a motivational map and focusing on energy and having a good conversation around that can really help me understand why someone's stuck. It can help me understand what their experiences is around burnout and where that's coming from. And it enables me to ask some fairly powerful questions to help the person I'm supporting really reflect on where they're at and where they want to be.
Okay, so let's say with direction, what's the sort of the first immediate non-negotiable steps you'll take with a client who's sort of lost their direction?
So if they've lost their direction, the reason I start with energy and understanding that is because it helps to set the direction. So for argument's sake, and there's detail in the book around the different motivators, but I'll pick as an example that the motivational map tells us that this person is a builder, has a high builder preference on their motivational map, which is about commercial success, financial success, those kinds of things. And it'll also tell me their satisfaction level with that, why it's important. So first of all, it tells me that it's important to them, and then the results will tell me how satisfied they are by it. And by then, that then gives a level of information to me. But in reality, what I need to then do is do a debrief with the individual around the map, and I'll start to get to understand why it is that way. Because the carrying out of the map, the survey is an unconscious process. It's very instinctive, and I get to then find out the reasons behind that through the debrief process. Now, it might be that there's a high level of need or a desire for financial success, but the satisfaction level's low. That's going to then open up a conversation around levels of profitability. And I'm going to understand that that's really important to them. And I'm going to understand that the need's not being met. Automatically, the direction goes towards, well, one of the most important things we need to focus on is profitability levels and how we're going to dial that up. However, there are some business owners that are actually the builder preference is lower for them, as an example. And therefore, it may be that they're satisfied with the level of financial impact that they're making. They're happy with the profitability levels. Now, the challenge with the reason that that's important to me as a coach in comparison to other coaches is they follow fixed models often. Whereas the flexibility I have is to be able to understand what matters most to somebody to then enable them to focus in that direction. There's no point me speaking to somebody who's a builder about really focusing in on their financials and their profitability when actually they're really happy with those things, yet they're really dissatisfied with the level of freedom and autonomy they've got, if that makes sense.
So I think
you're barking up totally the wrong tree at that point, aren't you?
I think just for a sort of perspective on that, Cleo's off camera, so you lot can't see her. But I think when you introduced me to the motivational map, I got my results back. I'm allowed to swear on this.
You're allowed to swear, mate.
I lost my fucking shit, didn't I? Honestly, I lost my shit. I was just like, I was driving to see you at the golf course. I was like, I'm going to ram this down his throat in a minute. I disagree with it. But I slowly Claire then explained it to me. So for people who are not sure about the motivational maps, I suppose we can put something down in the comments or something so they can understand.
Yeah, we can send a link or more information on the maps,
Yeah, to understand that, because it was trying to wrap my head around it and go, what do you mean I'm a director or a dictator? What are you on about? Like this, I was absolutely losing it. I was like, it's bullshit. Nothing like that. I was like, I'm not. But anyway, sorry, sort of digressing there. But yeah, it's just for people who don't know. It's obviously a good thing for them to look into. And we spoke about, obviously, I'd like you to come and like do it with my team as well. I think that could be a good thing. Right, so. Back onto the sort of performance trifecta. In the intro, in the book, you state that you manage processes, but you lead people.
Correct.
Can you elaborate on that for us?
Yeah, so it's one of the Room 101 mistakes that many people make is titles. We give people the titles of manager, right?
Yeah.
And usually it's in relation to people. So I think my perspective is that we manage processes, we manage policy, we manage strategy, for example, all of those sort of tangible things, we can make sure that a process is followed. But in reality, we have to lead people, and leading is about winning hearts and minds.
Yeah.
It's about energizing people in a direction that we're heading. And it's about getting them on board for what that matters, or understanding how that matters to them. Because as leaders, our direction will matter to us. And just because it matters to us, we then anticipate it's going to matter to someone else. And actually what we need to do is distill the outcomes that are most important to them as well. And I think if we just, ultimately you fall back on, if you try to manage people, you end up falling on this issue of like, why is it like that? Well, because I told you so. Or, that's the way it is. And all of that, people, you're just going to struggle to win people's hearts and minds if you try to manage them too much rather than lead them, I think is the challenge.
I had the same, we'll say, so-called leaders back in my early days of my working career. They were, looking back at it now, they were just unqualified to even be classed as managers or area managers.
Go on, name them.
Sorry?
Name and shame them.
No.
Okay.
No, they know who they are.
Okay, cool.
Not allowed to say the C word, am I?
I'd avoid. You are welcome to swear.
Yeah.
I'm okay with swearing. Obviously, there's a health warning for kids listening in the car. Let's avoid the C bomb. Let's avoid the C bomb.
No, that's good. So obviously, there's a bit of a penny drop moment there when you was talking to me myself. So then, in your experience, what is the most dangerous outcome when a leader sort of treats people like resources or a process?
What's the most dangerous
or
outcome?
Damaging, sorry. What was the damaging outcome, would you say?
Yeah, I think there's an old like cliche meme on LinkedIn, isn't there, around people don't leave jobs, they leave bad bosses.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the risk, is that if you try to manage people in the wrong way, support people in the wrong way, employ people in the wrong way, you end up essentially they'll disengage, and whether that's quiet quitting or more verbal, obvious quitting, people will leave. You lose that investment. No matter what business you're in, it costs an awful lot of money to recruit people, whether you pay an agency or not. You've got lost productivity before they start. You've got lost productivity when they're learning their role. You've got lost productivity when they then leave. And you've got lost productivity whilst they're working their notice period and infecting everyone else by telling them how great their new job's going to be and how shit it is working here and whatever else it may be. So I think one of the things that I'll often focus with on leaders is around retention. And sometimes I'll speak to leaders and actually the retention's really good and they don't know why. And I think it's also good to get an understanding of that. Sometimes the language, I think language is really important. I know Cleo's off camera and she's probably nodding her head in agreement that language is really important. But, we talk about managers and managing people. And then also in the workplace, we talk about human resources. And there's not really a worse term to call the people that work with us, and call it human resources. I think I have a bit of a challenge around the language we use and that language matters. I've lost track of where I went with that, really. But
yeah, no, it's fine. There's a few people, sort of friends in my life, where in work they've quit already. They're just there. Yeah. And I think some of the companies they work for, I'm like, as an owner, I'd be fuming, going, that investment I've paid out for.
Sure, yeah.
And why have they quit? Yeah. What's happened? Who's led them down this path? Because for me, it's the book lies with the leader. Of why the staff are quit.
Absolutely. And I used to get, I've always, no matter what work I've done or what job I've done, I've always tried my best. That's just part of the value system that I have. However, when I worked in bigger organisations, I really used to find it frustrating when I came across what I'd call NPCs, non-playing characters, people who were, just on the bus having a ride, often in more senior roles, often better paid than I was, and just, thinking about the fundamental failure that was going on there. And yeah, you're right. Now that I then run my own business, that I feel like that would be catastrophic. To think that you've got people who are just passengers on the bus. That's crazy to think that happens.
It's also frustrating.
Really frustrating. It's really frustrating. And really, really frustrating.
Hi, my name's Pete, and I want to thank you for tuning into today's podcast. I'm a coach, speaker, and author. And if you want to take your personal development that bit further, did you know that I offer a Mastermind program as well as one-to-one coaching? If you're interested, please do reach out on peterushmer.com.
I think that's a really important part of, one of the questions I'll often ask when we talk about performance of people in an organisation. We'll say, right, obviously my business is Flagship, so every so often I think, right, Flagship 2.0, I'm going to close my business down and start again tomorrow. Who am I not taking with me?
Yeah.
And there'll be a reason potentially why that I'm not taking those people with me, because I wanted them in the team in the first place. And it might be that I've not done a great job. I need to refocus on the leadership of them. It might be that they've lost their way, and maybe I need to help them find it might be with us or without us, but ultimately, in any business, you can't have any passengers, for sure.
No, I 100% agree with that. The book.
Sure.
Just want to focus on a few passages of the book. There's a few questions I got with this, actually.
Okay.
Remember, you can buy this at peterushmer.com.
Oh, man.
Is this going out before Christmas? It's a great stocking filler.
Oh, man, my toes are curling.
Why?
Because I'm a shit salesperson.
Yeah, I know, but it's great. It's actually a good insight into...
Great coach, shit salesperson.
Yeah, but 100%. But it's a great insight into you, actually. So we'll start, but I'm not going to go through all the chapters, but I've got a few in it. It's like,
thanks.
So in chapter 1...
I've not been prepared for this, by the way. Sorry, carry on. Well, I've not.
Well, you have.
You have. I've got no idea what you're saying.
Yeah, you wrote the fucking book. Right.
I did write the book. Yeah, I did write the book about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
No,
so chapter 1, you describe a painful experience at Volvo where you disclosing mental health and struggles was met with disdain. How quickly can a single leader's lack of empathy sort of like completely undermine a company's direction and ultimately cause the performance to suffer?
Sure. I think going back to my mindset at that time, I've been through a lot of personal development since then, and I've reached a level of forgiveness around that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And realizing that I didn't respond as well as I could have done. But at the time, one of the things that is really important to remember is at that time, I was like anybody else who works for anyone at any given time, if that makes sense. So at that time, it really mattered to me. I was really struggling. And, many people, when it comes to mental health in the workplace, it's a challenging subject because everyone has a different perspective as to what responsibility level the employer has on that individual. And I ask you, and I ask another person, and I ask someone else, everyone will have a different opinion. And there's lots of people now coming into the workforce, particularly as perspectives have shifted over time and different generations see things differently. But certainly I've seen an evolution towards where there's a lot of people now who come to work and think actually whatever challenges they're facing at home, there is a level of responsibility on the employer to be able to support them. And therefore those problems become the employer's problem as well. And there's there are people who think the other way. So for example, they've got these problems at home, or they've got these problems in their personal life, and they're my problems. Yes, they're coming to work with me, but actually it's not your responsibility as an employer. They are my challenges. I need to deal with them and I take responsibility for them, but I want you to be aware of them. And I think at that time, I fell in that second camp. I didn't expect my manager to do anything different. I think at the time I was probably just looking for some recognition and empathy of the challenges that I was facing at that time, and maybe why I felt that I wasn't doing as well as I could have been.
Yeah.
And in reality now, I look through my lens now as I was using it as an excuse. However, I think the question you asked is that it's around how a leader responds can then create disengagement. And I think that the leaders must have a and this is a non-negotiable, leaders must have a good level of empathy and understanding. And they need to approach situations, particularly around mental health and anything else that's important to that individual, with a level of empathy, because they need to recognize that there's a human sat in front of them that has an identity, that has an ego, and the honouring and supporting that person is what leadership is.
Yeah, for sure. So empathy is quite hard. Sometimes I've struggled with that.
Sure, me too.
I struggle with that, and
I'm certainly not perfect.
Yeah, you sometimes, you struggle with that. Different generations, I think. As you know, my parents were born in when I told you that they were 40s.
Yeah. And therein lies a really interesting point, Ian. I think one of the things that I've learned is, and that I try and share with the people I work with, is that we all have our own map of the world, which is created by our formative years when we're younger. When we are growing up, if you were able to have a decent conversation with a 2-year-old, they wouldn't understand what feeling anxious is. They wouldn't understand what being jealous is. They wouldn't understand a lot of the things that we are conditioned to learn and think. They wouldn't have a judgment around someone's mental health. They wouldn't have a judgment around someone's ability to do something, because they're essentially a blank canvas.
Yeah.
And what happens is we're all born blank canvases. We've got there's a level of nature and genetics in the way we're born, and our IQ and those kinds of things that we can't change. But certainly emotional intelligence is something that can be developed over time. Empathy is something we can work on. It doesn't come naturally to people. It's something that we do have to make an effort on, and that's something that I'll support people with. But in reality, what happens is we start as a blank. My belief is we start as a blank canvas, and then over time we're shaped by our parents, our peers, the school we go to, the teachers we experience, the experiences we have, the things we get told off for doing wrong, the things that we get embarrassed about by our peers, the things that people take the piss out of us about. We get shaped by those things, and then what happens is we create an identity around them. We have a set of values, we have a set of beliefs that are instilled in us by the experience we face through our lives. And what happens is over time is that then creates our map of the world. That's what makes people, a 2-year-old isn't racist, or a 2-year-old isn't, hasn't got hatred for other people. They learn that, and that's extreme. But what happens is over time we then look in the mirror and we've got like this identity about ourselves. We've got certain limiting beliefs, we've got certain challenges, and some of them serve us and some of them won't serve us, and some of them block us from getting to the next stage of our development. And part of my role as a coach is to understand what someone's map of the world is, understand the values and beliefs that are serving them, and help them to understand the values and beliefs that aren't, and help them realise that their decisions they've made, and they've got responsibility for everything that's going on in our lives is our responsibility. There are events we can't change. I'm not going to argue that with anybody, but ultimately we need to take responsibility for where we are in our life, and that actually we can make different decisions.
No, 100%. Yeah. No, 100%. I could go right on a tangent on that one, but I'm not going to, because I'll get in trouble. Okay. So
it's really interesting because I've got no idea what you're thinking.
Oh no, just people and accountability. It pisses me right off. if you
sure.
fuck up.
Well, but this is the thing, right? Is that actually?
I think people have lost that today as well.
Yeah,
they find
there
an
isn't.
excuse.
There isn't. There isn't. You spot people and they've got an element of there's an element of victim mentality, and certainly. It was a real game changer for me when I realised that I needed to take responsibility for everything that was going on and where I was. And if I wasn't happy with that, it's only down to me to change it. No one's going to come and save you, right? So you've got to save yourself. And you are right. You see it in other people, but again, it's there's a level of patience needed because again, that's someone's map of the world, right? They've been brought up to not take responsibility, to be a victim, to think that the world owes them something. They weren't born that way. They've been conditioned into that by the things that have happened to them as well. So, everyone is, and people aren't fixed or broken, right? Is the other thing we need to work on, right? We've all got challenges. Just different people have got different challenges to others based on what's holding them back at any given time. But you are right. It can be really challenging when you get people who struggle to take responsibility for what's going on.
Yeah. I'll teach my daughter that at the moment. I've taken a mobile phone off of her for 3 days.
Sounds like she's a very lucky girl to have you.
Yeah, she is, yeah. She'll feel like she's born in the Victorian age, though, at the moment. But, yeah, it's just me.
Phone's a privilege, mate.
It is, mate, it is. So, chapter 12, moving on.
Sure.
So chapter 12, where you discuss the failing, that you assert that society they have a fear of failure, is baffling and learned. How can leaders intentionally create a culture of psychological safety where a team member feels safe to fail, to learn, and to probably improve without fear or shame or judgment?
Cool. Okay. So how do we create psychological safety?
Safety, essentially. Yeah.
So for those that are listening or watching that aren't familiar with the term psychological safety, it was coined originally by Amy Edmondson back in the 90s. She's one of the leaders now at Harvard Business School, and she says that it's a fundamental requirement for any leader and business or organization to have psychological safety. And what psychological safety is it is the comfort for people to take interpersonal risks. So what that means is that people need to be able to admit that they're wrong, or they don't know something, or they've not got a fear of speaking up. So, and the reason that's really important in organizations or in teams is that people need to be authentic, and they need to be able to say if they don't understand something. There's nothing worse than someone carrying on doing something, not knowing why they're doing it, and actually doing a really poor job at it and feeling really uncomfortable about it. So people need to be able to speak up, and ultimately psychological safety leads to great teamwork. It leads to satisfaction. It leads to people feeling really aligned with the work they're doing. So how leaders can enable that, well, it's probably more fun for me to explain the way that leaders destroy psychological safety.
Yeah.
So leaders will destroy psychological safety by creating what's called a blame culture. And by the way, I'm not advocating for a no blame culture either, because if I want to live in a world where if people break the law, there is a consequence for that, right? So there is blame apportioned where it's necessary. So I'm not advocating for no blame, but what I mean by a blame culture is when things go wrong, they are looking to point the finger at somebody who has done something wrong.
Yeah.
And they're looking to apportion blame to an individual. Now, what you and I both know is that actually most people, or the majority of people, don't come to work to do a poor job. They don't come to work to fuck up. And usually if they do fuck up, it's related to something other than their intention. And a good example, so I'll coin, and it's on a reading list. At some point I need to create a reading list of recommended books, but Black Box Thinking by Matthew Syed is one of the best ones that I come across. And he uses an example there of two different industries, one being the NHS and one being aviation. Now, aviation inherently should be one of the most risky and unsafe forms of transport. We're not built to fly. right? But what happens is actually aviation has got probably one of the best safety records of any type of transportation.
Yeah.
And that's because they don't have a blame culture. They have a culture of black box thinking, which is if something goes wrong, we work out what's gone wrong, where the process has failed, and we fix it. If something hasn't been maintained properly, we work out why it hasn't been maintained properly and we fix it. If a pilot makes an error, we realise that actually there's probably a human factor involved. For example, the pilot is a highly trained individual who knows their job, they know what they're doing and the investment's been made in them. And actually, if they press a wrong button, it isn't through incompetence. They've pressed the wrong button because actually the dashboard has not been designed in a way that's actually user-friendly. That actually that button shouldn't be there because it's too close to this thing that will make us crash. So actually, let's move that button over there. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
no, 100%.
everything
100%.
is properly analysed and adjusted. Whereas we contrast that with the NHS, where actually there's a terrible safety record and people die needlessly in the NHS for absolutely, often the worst reasons. He's got a specific example of a poor mother who died on an operating table and unnecessarily. And that's because there's a lack of psychological safety. There's a hierarchy. The consultant doctor who's in charge is the god who knows everything, and the nurse doesn't feel empowered to challenge them.
Yeah.
And actually the doctor is in a operating theatre, and all of a sudden the human factors get involved and their heart rate starts racing and they're sweating and they're tired from not having enough sleep the night before, and the nurse notices something that's going wrong and actually something catastrophic's about to happen, but fears that if they challenge the doctor, they're going to get struck off or whatever it may be. That's then not psychological safety. Does that make sense? So and that is happening all the time in organisations. There are people who are spotting the things that are going wrong and they don't feel safe enough to speak up because they'll either be ridiculed or knocked back or told to stay in their lane or whatever it may be. So psychological safety is whether someone is, whatever their role is, they feel empowered to be able to say, this isn't going right. And then when they look at the things that are not going right, it's not about an individual being apportioned blame, which is often the error people make. It's about going, we've designed a system that's failing. How do we improve the system?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And the psychological safety that I try to have in my business is that I almost applaud somebody to go, I need you to make a decision without me about, stop coming to me and asking me that decision. Make that call. You fuck it up, say what?
That is after the
Yeah.
piss taking, of course, though.
Yeah, it's a piss taken.
Because the thing is, though, and this is the thing, I'm not saying you can't have some fun, if that makes sense, but it needs to be appropriate and people need to know that you're taking the piss.
Oh, yeah, no, exactly. Mate, it's that. If somebody messes up at work, then I often then take the piss and just like your wife does. If they do something wrong, you just constantly, every so often, once a week, you remind them of that thing they done wrong.
Sure. And then if they don't like that culture, then they'll see themselves out, won't they?
No, Bex doesn't like that culture, no, at home. Do you, dear? No.
Thank you for joining us on today's It's Not So Lonely at the Top podcast. We really hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. I'm absolutely delighted that you took the time to listen, and I really hope that you'll subscribe to ensure that you receive future episodes too. If you want to find out any more, please do search It's Not So Lonely at the Top podcast, and you'll find it on your favourite podcast app. Thank you.